Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.
Oh, we'll start now.
Yeah, we'll start now.
Starting now.
I can't bear to have that conversation go
Everything
live.
we just said
is gone.
about your armpits.
My armpits.
Is not going to
They'll
be
never
on the show.
know.
They're not going to know.
Now I want them to wonder. I want them to sit there and go,
What did they say?
What was the discussion about his armpits?
That's good.
But the people who know me well will be like, I know what it
I know.
was.
Jacob's armpits.
Right? How you doing?
Good, pal. Are my waveforms looking
Your waveforms look
a little minuscule there?
They look a little, but I also maybe I may be too close to the microphone.
You know what? Just turn me up in post.
Okay, I'll turn you up in post. Turn me up.
And then make those waveforms match, and we'll be beautiful.
Okay, you got it. I usually do.
Oh, you do?
I
Because
usually
I'm always
do.
quiet.
Yeah, you're a little bit quieter. Well, because you have a much more relaxed posture overall in the podcast, because you kind of are like, you're just chilling.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm the guy who's like in your face.
Right. Well, I'm awfully, and then people who watch the video will see this. I am hopelessly fidgety.
Yeah. Well,
I'm always fidgeting with things.
to
playing
keep
with
that mind
stuff
powered,
and going.
you have to. Yeah. You're like a train that you're shoveling coal to keep.
Right.
You got to keep the engine going.
And someone's making me sit in one place.
You got to keep going.
It's very difficult.
I actually have found that a lot of very contemplative friends of mine, people that think a lot, are fidgeters.
Really?
So I don't think you're alone in that. And I'd be
God.
curious to know other people out there. Because guy I used to work for before my last job, he was very fidgety and he was the CEO.
Huh.
So it ends up being,
All right.
yeah, there you go.
Fidgeters unite.
Fidgeters unite. No, it's a beautiful Southern California day.
So we're
here
starting
too.
now.
Yes.
After we talk about it, because I don't want to talk about my fidgeting. No, I'm totally
Okay,
kidding.
I was like,
What are we?
Are you going to make me restart this 5 times? We just lost all the time.
That's hilarious.
No, I love it.
I'm good.
Well, today
Today,
we're going to cover something that I'm going to start out by saying.
National Ice Cream Day?
No, but didn't that just happen?
I think it was Sunday.
It was Sunday?
Yeah.
Did you participate?
No. My kids were very distraught when they found out. They found out on Monday that they missed National Ice Cream Day. And they're like, well, let's celebrate it today. We're like, well, we didn't buy ice cream today.
Oh.
We're like, what? And it was already late.
Yeah.
So now we're those awful parents who didn't celebrate National Ice Cream Day. And our kids,
You're great parents.
they left us.
No. Well, we didn't celebrate it either, but we have a new gizmo in the kitchen. It's this thing called the Yo Nanas. Have you heard of this thing?
Yo, nanas.
Yo Nanas.
That sounds great.
Right. So it's basically
Like bananas?
Yeah, like bananas. So so in order to really enjoy this thing, there's ways around it. Do you like bananas?
I love bananas.
Okay.
I have a banana every day.
Yes, you do. Can confirm. Witness the banana. But this thing is like an ice cream maker, but you use frozen fruit. And the primary ingredient that they push with the Yo Nanas, clearly, is the banana. Because it gives, when you push it through this processor, frozen, it makes everything kind of creamy like an ice cream treat, but it's all fresh fruit.
So then
it's kind of amazing.
So it's like banana, then you just kind of
Berries.
pepper it up with some strawberry, a little bit of
you can put
blueberry.
raspberries, blueberries, whatever fruit you want to add in it. And what we've done is you make it and then you sprinkle little chocolate chips on top.
Oh, that's good.
And things like that. But it's a really cool little machine. So my kids have been happy with that.
Have your kids been going Yo Nanas over it?
They've been going Yo Nanas. This podcast was sponsored by Yo Nanas. No, it wasn't. I'm not promoting their product at all because I actually didn't know it existed.
And we don't know if they kill babies.
Yeah, we have. I don't think they do.
Pollute
It feels like that would rise to the top of their. I feel like whoever was marketing the Yo Nanas, that would come out really early if they did that. So I think
point.
that they kill bananas.
They murder bananas?
You put them through the blender, yeah.
Oh,
They do murder bananas,
we as
but they're
a society
delicious.
are absolutely murdering bananas.
We are. Yeah.
Poor farming practices.
Have we done we should do a banana centric? No, we do farming, but
We could absolutely go bananas on bananas.
Do you want to do a biofriendly podcast called Go Bananas?
Jacob, just look into bananas for a minute. And
Okay.
you'll be so sad.
Oh.
You'll be so sad.
So it's going to be
It'll be a bummer run, but we'll find an answer.
We'll find some.
Yeah, we'll find an answer.
Some yellow lining.
Yeah, we'll find a yellow lining to this peel.
All right. Well, no. Today we're doing. We're going to be talking about water.
Okay.
But not bottled water because we obviously know that that's a problem. The plastic bottles and that whole thing.
Old news.
We know that's a big deal and we know it's a problem. But
blah, blah, blah.
This came about because I've been watching the Netflix show Down to Earth with Zac Efron.
He is dreamy.
He is dreamy.
Yeah.
And if you've watched the show, then you know it's great. If you haven't watched the show, I mean, I'm going to be honest. It's essentially the Biofriendly Podcast, but with a big budget and on Netflix.
Yeah.
So I'm insinuating that Zac Efron.
We have the Zac Efron of Biofriendly Podcast.
I was going to say we're just as good looking as both those co-hosts on that show. But no, they do exactly what we do, which is they dig into these environmental topics. They do humorous things. They do more serious things, but they're going all around the world. It's a really great show.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. But I think that if given the opportunity, we could do it just as good, if not better.
Absolutely, because we don't have to lie to the world to say that we have a dad bod. We've actually,
That's right.
we actually got dad bods.
Yeah, and don't even get me started on that. There was
I've
an
already
article.
gotten here. I've gotten you started on it.
There was an article that came out about Zac Efron on Down to Earth about his dad bod. If you've seen that show, I'm sorry, that is not a dad bod. These standards are getting out of control. He's not a father.
It's out of control.
It's out of control. That is not a man who drinks a sixer and grills on his barbecue. That is a body of a guy who's in fantastic shape and has gotten to a healthy weight.
For all of you ladies who are disagreeing with us, I want to go back to when Heidi Klum had a child, and they were talking about her post baby look.
Yeah,
and how, I mean, women would look at Heidi Klum post baby and they'd be like, God, if I could look like that at any point,
be furious
in my life, and they were like, that's not fair. It's
not
fair. That's Heidi Klum. She's a model.
Right. And she's got a lot of people looking after her nutrition and her food.
Right.
And she's got trainers and people that can help her at any stage. And so does Zac.
Zac Efron might look puffy for Zac Efron.
Right.
So perhaps
let's not call that a dad
Zac
bod.
Efron's soft body.
Yeah.
But Zac Efron's soft body could still be in a Marvel movie.
Right. The only celebrity that we've had in the past decade that had a dad bod and legitimately and then got rid of it, but Chris Pratt, Parks and Rec, season 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, he had a dad bod. Yeah.
That's a dad bod right there.
Yeah.
Okay, and then he got all cut, and I lost all respect for him. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he's no father to me anymore.
He's no father to me. No, but anyway, but to the point. Yes, Zac Efron, you're a beautiful man, and I would like to get in that great shape. So back to Down to Earth.
I thought you were going to go somewhere else there, so I'm glad that you went. I'm glad you went where you went. That's good.
No,
I was like, wow, this is the Biofriendly Podcast.
Yeah, I know, right? No, I'm going to keep it clean. So I saw the show, and on the second episode, he did water. And what has been sticking around in my mind so much is, so first of all, they travel to France, and they talk about the water cleaning practices, but there's a specific scene where they're sitting down, and they're still in LA. They're at a restaurant where there is a water sommelier. Oof. As in, like, sommelier is somebody who's like, the person who knows all the wines. They can literally smell the nose of it and taste it, know what region it's from.
Pair it with food.
Right. Yeah. So that's a sommelier. So this is like the world's only water sommelier. I don't know the guy's name, but
he's not Zac Efron.
He's not Zac Efron. But they sit down and he talks about how purified water, distilled water that's literally had everything taken out of it, is not great, and not great for you because when you're drinking it, it has no natural minerals in it. It has no magnesium. It has no potassium. It has no calcium,
salt.
Yeah, all that stuff that your body needs.
There's even
minerals.
some heavy metals, like trace amounts of.
Exactly. So he talks about how if you were to buy water from a bottle, which is already a problem, okay, but if it's purified, that's not something that you should be drinking on the regular basis because when the water goes through your body, it's looking for minerals because it doesn't have them. So it's going to take them from you.
Yeah.
So
it'll have a little mini chemical reaction there and rip some molecules out of your body. Yeah, sure.
And this isn't to be like you should be scared. It's not going to kill you.
For the average person, though, I will say it's not a massive deal so long as you're eating enough healthy foods. Right.
Like that's what I found.
If you get most of your minerals from foods, like water is like sort of an additional bonus. Like bonus.
You're getting it from fruits and veggies, and you're getting the minerals from a good balanced diet anyway.
Right.
So
but have you ever tasted water that's
distilled?
No, like a good like a spring water. Like
yes.
Yeah. I mean,
it's great.
I mean,
it's better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where this conversation, this is where this idea came from because first I learned that.
Yeah.
And then they go on to try these mineral waters, and they have what's called the TDS number, which is total dissolved solids. And that's, a lot of these mountain spring waters and these mineral waters that you get, they come directly from the source, and they're not allowed to do anything. They're not allowed to add anything to it other than carbonation. They can add a natural CO2 to make it fizzy or not, but they can't change the composition of the water at all. But while they're sitting there in this tasting, he's bringing out these different kinds that have higher and higher TDSs. And so they get up to 7,000. And I mean, it's literally, they drink it, they're like, that's like Alka-Seltzer. It's just like, holy smokes.
Yeah, probably fizzes.
Yeah, fizzes, right?
Yeah.
So I was fascinated by that. And so it just took me down this rabbit hole of the whole water journey that we're on, because that episode talks about, they go to France, they find that France has overhauled their public water system. So then I started digging into the U.S. water system.
Right.
And while it was a rabbit hole for me, it is, first of all, it's a dangerous rabbit hole, like so many of these topics, because there are angry opinions all over it. And as I was reading sides, I would read things that were like, this is, the water's bad and this is dangerous, whatever. And then you look at the source of the site, like our topic of last week, and you'd have to be careful to be like, who's promoting this message?
Right.
Is it somebody trying to sell?
Is this someone from the Coca-Cola company?
Right. Is this somebody
in his Dasani water plant?
Right.
Yeah.
It was a really dangerous rabbit hole. And what I found, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about, was, well, wait a second. We just talked about the mineral waters, and I didn't even give you a chance to chime in on that.
I chimed in a little bit.
Yeah, I know, but
I think like mineral waters are they're
amazing.
Terrific. Like if you okay, so there's this near where we live. I'll take you there as soon as it opens. It's been closed, but up in the Santa Anita Canyon, there is throughout it. There's these spots where what water does. Like if you water your lawn,
right, it
goes down into the dirt, and then it sinks down and sinks down and sinks down until it gets to the water table.
Yeah,
right, wherever that happens to be, and then from there, like it'll work its way into rock and into sand, and it'll sit there, and as it slowly over sometimes thousands of years, works its way through rock and dirt and earth. It'll find like an exit. It'll find some way out. Sometimes it just comes, up from in the ground wherever the water table is, whatever. But there's this one spot. Actually, there's a few of them, but there's one in particular I want to show you. When we go for our next hike up in the canyon, where you can take a leaf and you go into what looks like just a regular old hole with just like some water coming, falling down around it somewhere. Yeah. And if you stick the leaf in the hole, it'll make like a little spigot and it'll pop the water out, and the water will come.
Really?
Come flipping on out, and then you put your canister under there, and you fill it up, and you drink that water. It's God's drink. It's so good.
It really,
because it has been filtered for thousands of years.
That's awesome.
By nature.
I definitely want to try this.
Yeah. It's really great. And so that's out. I mean, like naturally aged and filtered through rocks, and it's just it's awesome.
Right.
So, like if you get like a good, like a good spring water, mineral water, if you get like water from from the source, it can be really, really good. But also, I mean, the reason that we have water control is because you do get bacteria in water that isn't moving a lot, that isn't running. You do get. You do get viruses and get into water. You get all sorts of crazy, like literal crap, and in water. So, one of the reasons that we have pretty high. Actually, it's one of the funniest things about this topic is how much bottled water is taken off, and how people are drinking it thinking this is better for me, this is better for me, when the standards that bottled water are held up to are not even close to the standards that your water from the tap are being held up to.
There it is, another time that as I'm studying, I'm going, holy smokes, I'm learning this. Because here's the crazy thing that you just said that blew my mind. The United States tap water system, especially in big cities, especially in places like LA and New York and these big congested places, we have very good standards of tap water.
Yeah.
We have very good standards.
Yeah.
First of all, we have the EPA put into effect. Now, it was 1974, so there could definitely be some improvements.
Well, and they updated it in 85, I think.
They updated it then? So the Clean Drinking Water Act, which was 74, and then 85.
Yeah.
So this is going to be one of those podcasts that really, you have some interesting data on both sides, because I found a scientific article that was like, once the Flint, Michigan thing came up.
Yeah.
There have been, so when you're in rural parts of the world, and as most of you guys who listen to the show, you know that I'm from Oklahoma. Oklahoma, you're one of the trouble zones of cities and places where they have water that constantly are violating their pledges for clean water because of these piping systems and sources of water that are contaminated.
They are absolutely, by the way, not allowed to do.
Right.
Like it's not like, oh well, it's the states or states can regulate the water how they want to. That's not the case. That's the whole point of what you're talking about, and and with the EPA.
Yeah.
Is there is a federal standard.
Yes.
That you must hit. And you can go better than that. If you want to make it even better, you're allowed. But you have to, like, the minimum standard exists.
Yes.
And if you don't meet it, then you lose money.
Yeah.
Like you get less money from the federal government. It affects.
Yeah. And if you are curious as to what so EWG, which is the environment, EWG.org, they have gone around and they've done, you can go into the EWG.org's website, and you do ewg.org/tap water. And you can basically type in your zip code, and it will tell you what the points are for and it'll say, these are the contaminants that we found, but they have absolutely bypassed the level that you're allowed to drink, and it's safe and whatnot. And so, and of course, when you start plugging in our cities, we're in good shape, and New York's in good shape. So,
and a lot of rural areas
will
are
be
in good
fine.
shape too. But you get, like, sometimes you're also dealing with well water.
Yeah.
Right, which can be fine, could be great, can be great water, but it's not being tested. Like that's your own water source, so you sort of have to be responsible yourself, and it's easy to do. The kits are like they're cheap, they're available. Like you can test your water really pretty easily. So but the thing that took my breath away, and that you said already, which is, I think, and I'm going to say something flat out, and this is Jacob Given's opinion: the water bottle business is a racket. Yeah. Oh, it's
a racket.
It's a way to. Do you remember? I remember watching a movie when I was young. When I was young, it was like I remember seeing these bad guys on a boat, laughing about how they're going to make water more expensive than gasoline.
Why do I remember that?
Do you remember that?
I do, and I don't know what it's from.
It was something big.
If you guys remember, please tell us in the comments on our socials, because I would love to know what that's from, but I have that memory as well.
And then that made my parents laugh so hard because water was slowly becoming more expensive than it was already happening. Yeah. And but then me thinking as a kid, that's preposterous. But no, I mean it's like water is absurdly more expensive than gasoline. Yeah. Although gasoline's trying, it gets more and more expensive. But it is ridiculous when you figure that even I think like 25% I read of the water that you get that's bottled is tap water. Yeah. Anyway.
That's true.
So it's like it's a marketing racket.
It's a racket.
So part of what scares people of their local water is they say, well, they're not taking care of you. They're being irresponsible with the water. And if you drink water, from you're going to get sick and you're going to die and it's going to be bad. And that's just not true. Yeah. So the reason they get you to believe it is because in order to keep the standard up, they put in chlorine. Right. And depending on when you get the water and where the water comes in, they might have a batch that has too high of whatever, too much bacteria here. They might have some trace amount of a virus. Well, let me trace amount, but enough of a virus, they've got to do something about it. And so they put in more chlorine, and then it tastes a bit like chlorine. But there's a limit to how much they can use, and it is not carcinogenic. It's not going to kill you. It's just going to taste odd. Yeah. But you can get rid of that with like a carbon filter. Will remove the flavor of chlorine completely, and you can keep your minerals.
Yes, that is so. That is really leading us to what I was wanting to get to most importantly, because I started this journey because mineral waters. I was like, wow, that's something that I really think is cool. And I want, I went to Trader Joe's and they had this kind called Gerolsteiner or whatever. Ooh. And it was, it's like $1.50 for a glass bottle, by the way, nice. Of this mineral water. And it was awesome. It was fizzy. And I looked at the side, it had so much magnesium. And apparently, by the way, American citizens in particular are a little bit on the deficient side of magnesium. So we're a little short on it.
I take magnesium every day.
Very, very
and
good.
So not just like I take bananas. I take a banana.
You take some magnesium. So apparently Americans, we struggle with it, and the side effects are fatigue, loss of appetite. There's all sorts of things that you have by not having enough magnesium. So this drink was fizzy. It was delicious. It had some magnesium. It had some potassium and calcium in it. And I was like, cool. I'm going to start having the occasional mineral water. I'm just going to start doing it because I enjoy it. But when I got to the tap water thing and I learned, I was like, first of all, these bottled companies are selling us tap water.
Yeah.
And the indeterminate
not all of them.
Not all of them.
To be fair,
No,
like there are
Fiji is selling the legitimate.
You're getting mountain spring water from like Arrowhead, and there's they're not all doing that.
They're not. It's not all a racket, but you should be wary. First of all,
there's a reason why everyone's mad at Dasani. I don't know if you keep hearing.
Yeah, I didn't actually
how angry
speak
people
up,
get.
Speak up on that
one. They're in California.
Yeah,
and
I don't even need this. I know my facts.
They're using about 1.6 gallons of water to make a gallon of water because they're taking tap water and then they're doing reverse osmosis on it to filter it a little bit. So they're doing something, I guess. Yeah. And then they're losing some of the water. So they're taking like California, right? We've got farmers in the middle of the state who, if you ever make your way, and we have to do it occasionally to go up to one of our facilities, when you make your way up the 5 freeway, you'll see on the side of the road there's these signs from the farmers saying, "We don't have water.
Yeah.
We can't grow your food.
Yeah.
We need more water."
Yeah.
Right? And so you've got company bottling water that and using more of that than they need to just give you the water.
Yeah.
And then charging you lots of money for it, and it's basically just filtered tap water.
Dasani is Coca-Cola, right?
And I love a good Coca-Cola now and again.
Coca-Cola,
very tasty, very good.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't like you're killing the environment.
Yeah. Yeah. So like you said, it's not every single one, but in my opinion, we already know that the plastic bottles of bottled waters is a problem. So 1.1, we want to reduce that to almost nothing if you can. I understand there's situations where you need bottled waters for, you're outside and you don't have access to water and you need clean drinking water. That does happen. But for the most part, we know that's reason 1 to steer clear. But 2, you should rethink some of these bottled waters because some of these companies are just taking what's in your faucets at home and selling it to you. So that's a racket.
That's a racket.
And then, but point 3 is to what Noel said is that our tap water is fine. And if you're worried about the chlorine or the little things here, it really is as simple as a carbon filter.
Like Brita makes one.
Yeah.
You know what? Zac Efron. Here's how Zac Efron's going to help us again.
All right, Zac Efron. We're going to call this episode Zac Efron.
Here's Zac going to help us today. Okay. So here's how the activated carbon filter works. Yeah. All right. So let's imagine that I am hanging out with my wife. Mm-hmm. Right? We're holding hands, having a lovely day.
I can imagine it.
We're walking along.
It's clear as day.
Clear as day. Mm-hmm. So we are water. Like I'm chlorine.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, sorry. In this case, I'm water. I am water.
You are water.
My wife is chlorine.
Okay.
Okay. So we're walking along, and then up walks Zac Efron.
Okay.
So Zac Efron is carbon.
Okay.
So through a process they call adsorption.
Okay.
Right? Which is not absorption. Yeah. Adsorption is where you coat a surface, like something will like gas or a liquid or even some solids can coat the surface of something and then jump onto it. So what happens is something that is more attractive to the chlorine than the water is comes in. So Zac Efron comes in, and I've got my wife, we're holding hands, and she sees Zac Efron, and she says,
shirtless.
I just need a moment. He's got a dad bod, and I want to squeeze it. So she lets go of my hand and goes over, and she holds Zac Efron's hand, and then they run off.
But we all know, because we know how much your wife loves you, that this is a merely humorous example, because she would absolutely choose you. So in this situation, you are carbon.
Aw, you're so sweet. Okay. So Zac Efron's holding hands with my wife. And they're walking along.
Yes,
and she's having a great time.
She's having a great time with Zac Efron.
I think, but my point, the reason I put Zac Efron on the other side is to kind of illustrate the point that a female, and I'm sure that my wife would have a hard time continuing to hold my hand and not at least saying hello.
Yeah.
But something more attractive comes in, and that's what the carbon does. It's more attractive, and so the chlorine then is attracted to the carbon filter, and then starts coating all of the carbon that is in the activated carbon filter. And then and this is why they wear out, because over time, it becomes a giant carbon chlorine mess that needs to be replaced.
You have to replace it,
but it's no longer in your water,
right?
And but the minerals don't like Zac Efron. so they stay out of it.
Yeah.
And you're, so it's it's
the bad minerals. That's what I mean. Through the filter, the good minerals make it through.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
because in our tap water,
well, some
get filtered out.
Some heavy metals can just get right through it. So and some of them are a little bit of it's fine, but if you get too much of the too much lead in your water, it's probably not great. Which happens. It used to happen a lot before we changed the gasoline and we did some things to help the air pollution problems. But and that's why some people have a reverse osmosis filter, which is fine. The problem with the reverse osmosis filter is it takes out everything. It makes it completely pure.
Dead water, they call it.
Right. So the last process is they'll actually alkalinize it. They'll actually add minerals to it.
Right.
To give you the water back. So I don't know, but honestly, it's a pretty good standard that we have with the EPA. That water is rushing along to get down to where it is in general. You're not going to get too much in the way of bad minerals.
Yeah, because here's a thing that you probably know already, but the bottled water is approved by the FDA. Our tap water is approved by the EPA. Yeah. So
who do you like more?
Well, it's basically EPA is a little bit more. The point being they're looking at. I think they know what they're talking about a little bit more in terms of the water. The FDA probably doesn't have the same standards in terms of what they're selling you.
Well, I don't want to go too much into FDA corruption because that's a whole
other episode.
That's a long episode. But
anyway,
but the FDA has. I mean, they do a pretty good job of food mostly. Their food division's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The drug part of it has some problems, but that's a really corrupt industry.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, I think that we have. While I was researching, we own what's known as a Berkey filter, and we bought one a little while ago. And it's funny because during this process, I read up, and there's a lot of links that are I think it's overhyped because they lack the certifications that they're supposed to have, and they're not allowed to sell a certain size in California and Idaho, I think. And I read up onto what it was, and it was basically that there were these certifications that in the state of California, you have to say that your product has no lead or whatever. And they were like, we don't have any lead in our products whatsoever, but it's literally way too expensive for us to pay for that certification over and over and over again for the state of California. So they now allow us to have the smaller ones, which is what we have.
Right.
And it's funny because this article that I was reading, it was they haven't gotten these right certifications, but there are all these people that have spoken to that have chemical sensitivities and have problems with certain kinds of water, and then they buy it, and then their health improves, and their drinking water experience improves. And I was reading, I was like, are the minerals I'm supposed to be having still passing through? And I was like, yes, they are. It's just taking out the chlorines, the bad things. It's just like an amped up Brita.
Right.
And so, but it was interesting because I don't know. I feel like the key is you should probably look into your water. You should look into what is in your neighborhood, in your town, because all of this information is available.
Yeah.
It's all available. Every year, the EPA will publish a report. And if you're a homeowner, I think it's given to you, in your water bill. Now, if you live in an apartment building like me, it's not given to me because it's, shared amongst all these other people. But they are constantly being transparent about what's in the water, what they're finding, how the water quality was that year. And so I think it's important to know if you have concerns, it's as simple as a Brita, a Pure, and you're probably going to be having better drinking water than a lot of people in the world, in third world countries that don't have clean drinking water.
I mean, look, we had Well Aware come on. I mean, I see the water availability is a much bigger issue than people realize on this planet. It's a problem.
It's a big problem.
And, here we live in our case, Los Angeles, where we have. Not only do we have plenty of water, it's the cleanest water in the world.
Yeah,
I mean, it's up there.
Yeah, the standard of it is. Yeah. That's what I saw time and time again. Is it listed us as a high standard?
Yeah,
as a very high standard.
And people here are very nervous about drinking the water, and that's
funny.
It's hilarious
because I have been.
Even if you just drink it out of the tap, usually you don't taste the chlorine.
No, but that's the funny thing is ever since when I was little. And I was growing up, you would run in from out of the hot summer day, and I would turn on the faucet, and I would dip my head underneath, and I had no qualms about gulps of sink water.
I was like a gerbil,
I was just drinking water like that, and somewhere along the way, maybe it was college, where I was, now living in Illinois and living in dorms and apartments. But there was a little bit more of a concern about like drinking out of the tap. People started getting water bottles more.
And what's hilarious about it is that it's gotten better. And I know that they haven't changed the rules since 1985, I think it was, but it's gotten better. The reason that they put the rule there in the first place was because of air pollution.
Yeah.
It's because of you couldn't control what was in the air and what was falling down into the water, and the water was getting more and more filled with heavy metal contaminants.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's gotten better. I know that we obviously we're doing this podcast because it needs to still get better, but it has gotten. I mean, the quality of the air now compared to what it used to be, it's night and day.
Yeah, especially in this city. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but so you're not like it's cleaner now than it was.
Yeah, it is. And so the water thing just fascinates me because I'm sure most of you, where you live, there is this feeling about taking a glass, sticking it under your sink, and just taking the tap water. And somehow along the way, we've been taught that that's not safe and that you can't do that. And I think that I want people to walk away from this and go, you absolutely can't. You've been had.
Yeah.
You absolutely can drink the water that is coming out of your tap in your home. And situations that happen in places like Flint and that controversy, those are places that went unchecked. Those are places that had problems and broke the law and violated the EPA rules. And that needs to be, I think it has been fixed since, over the past 6 years that happened. But that does happen. And that's why you need to know where your water's coming from. Are the people publishing the reports? Are you getting the information you need? But for the majority of people, especially in the United States, we have good water. We have good drinking water in our homes.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why, like the Flint, Michigan thing was horrifying. I mean,
it's a disaster,
just awful. But the reason we all have heard about it, the reason we all know it happened, is because it isn't normal.
It isn't normal.
Because it's that's evil people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doing evil things.
Yeah.
And causing death.
Yeah.
Which I wish wasn't part of the world, but unfortunately it
happens.
It is part of the world. And so, keep your eyes open, be aware. And certainly the smaller your population, the closer you probably have to keep your eye.
Yeah. And I mean, your body will tell you too, if you're drinking your water and you don't feel well, or if it's got a strange smell to it. But I even when I was looking at the EPA stuff, I was looking at where I live in my area because I went and found my report, and they were like, your water smells a little bit like rotten eggs. Why does that happen? And it was like breaking down, and it wasn't dangerous. It was just from the way that it had been resting, or I can't even remember what the reason was, but
probably sulfur or something.
Yeah. And it was like, these are things that you could have concerns, but there are people that their job is to be open and transparent and let you know what's going on so that you're not afraid. That's their whole job, is to make sure that you're not in danger. And so if you live in a small rural area and all it takes is a quick Google search, you'll find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And by the way, that Brita filter wasn't going to help you in Flint, Michigan.
No.
No,
so, that was a bad situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the only bright side to when things like that happen and we become aware of it is it gets more. Yeah. It makes us think more about it, look at it more. But what would be unfortunate is if that is a win for the bottled water companies, because it is kind of a racket. It
is a racket, and I am okay with saying that because I know that we try to give the benefit of the doubt to a lot of things, but
so here we'll try. Sometimes you're traveling.
Yes.
And sometimes, like, you're on the road, you're on a road trip, and you want a cold water, and having a bottle of cold water can really hit the spot. And I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Bottle of water for that. Yeah. I think that if you are going to, I don't know, maybe you're having some outdoor picnic or party outside or away or something, and you need to have water there. It's okay. So that's probably a good way to do it. I feel like there's maybe purposes for it, and there's a point to it. But for your everyday living in life and whatever else, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
You don't need to do it.
Yeah, and one thing I wish I hope that maybe we'll see in the future.
And trust us, we're experts. No, as always, take everything we say with a grain of salt because we're morons.
Yeah. But back to the down to earth. When he's in France, they've overhauled and now the whole city has water fountains available all over the city. That's just, they have an app They have water. It's clean.
Yeah.
And they even have a sparkling version as well, which is so French, right?
That is so
But
French.
when they have their vending machines,
Yeah.
they sell empty drinkable water containers. That's what they sell. So there's no vending machines that are selling bottled water. It's just empty containers because they know you turn around, there's a water fountain everywhere.
Right.
And so you can fill it out everywhere you go. So I think it would be really cool if cities in the United States started finding more and more ways that we could make public water available in certain areas so that if you had a container, you could walk up. And actually, you're starting to see it sometimes. Now, when you go to these drinking fountains, they'll have that thing next to it that have the shape of the water bottle, and you can fill up right there. So that's an example of how we see it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's COVID has certainly been a bit of a kickback on,
I know,
on this whole thing, right?
It does, right?
Because we don't want to share anything with anyone
Right.
now. And we could, by the way, have another whole podcast on the dangers of us not interacting with one another anymore, because there's
problems with that too.
there are illness dangers coming down the pipeline if we're not careful here by not finding a way to be together. Yeah. But I mean, people, most drinking fountains right now are covered with a plastic garbage bag.
Yeah.
With saying "do not use."
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
And that's that will hopefully change in a little bit. But I mean, those. I remember loving drinking fountains. You'd see them like, oh, thank God. And then you go and you would just
always be
chug.
excited when I would see one, especially drinking fountains that have the real long arc. Like, it's always disappointing when you get to a drinking fountain and it's just barely trickling out of the top, and you're like, oh man, I got to make out with this thing for me to get a drink of water, which you don't want to do. No. But like the ones that have the big arc, and then the water is so cold that it almost hurts your teeth a little bit, but it's so great when you're in 100-degree day and you just are like, oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Did you drink out of the hose as a kid?
Oh, absolutely.
We drank out of the hose as a kid.
I drank everything.
I did too.
Man, I did. What did I know? I was a kid.
Well, we didn't have bottled water back then. That wasn't a thing.
No.
That wasn't. I mean, they probably had it, but everybody in the 80s was going like, why would I buy water?
I got it for free in a tap.
It's somewhere
Which, let's bring back that attitude. Why would I buy water? I have it for free in a tap.
I have it for free in a tap.
Yeah.
Yes. But this is also a good time to, if you would like to help other countries with their water situation, there are great organizations like Well Aware that we worked with in the past that are doing amazing things in Africa. And, Ocean Conservancy, we just did a big donation to them. So,
we got a few of those.
We got a few of those guys on our belt.
Out. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it. That's all I wanted to cover, because I just was excited. First, I was excited about mineral water, because now I've become like a mineral water junkie.
Awesome.
I kind of think it's just the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Perrier, San Pellegrino, I just think they're yummy.
You're in.
I'm in on mineral water.
So now you're basically saying you're going to buy bottled water. Is that how we came around to it?
Glass? Glass only?
So long as the bottle's made of glass.
Well, if somebody could please figure out, how about I get some, remember when we did that show about Ohos,
Yeah,
whatever?
sure.
We need some better biodegradable containers for fluids. That's what we need.
Yeah.
So somebody get on that, okay?
Well, that feels like you've just kind of answered your other earlier question before we go away of the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Is that there are some water companies that are giving you a premium water.
Yes.
There are some.
There are. Absolutely, there are water companies that are selling you the goods.
Yes.
Selling you the good stuff.
So basically spend too much and then you're okay.
Yeah. Or, for me, it's like, obviously I'm not going to buy cases and cases and cases of mineral water. It's going to be something that you have a little bit here, a little bit there, and then I'm going to responsibly take that glass bottle and I'm going to recycle it. But it is, I think that we all know that the horrifying images are when you see hundreds of thousands of those very generic water bottle types just littering a field. That's where our consumerism has gotten to be at this place where it's more convenient for me to buy 24 of those and just discard them in the trash. And that's what we need to get away from.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It costs you money and there's no difference.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're your beacon of light in a gloomy environment.
Featuring greater parasympathetic nerve activity.
More than just charismatic megafauna.
Dolphins don't quit.
Nature is perfect. Look at eggs.
And we are y'all inclusive.
That was...
That's pretty good.
That was
I
pretty
paused
good.
briefly on
I
Noel and
paused
Jacob.
briefly too because I panicked.
Yeah, I always panic.
I always panic,
Yeah.
but my brain panicked and was like, "You're gonna screw it up again, Givens." But I got there. We got
I
there
think we did. It was pretty good.
because it was a very hydrated episode.
This was.
We were drinking.
We were having our
water.
just
right
water
here.
from the tap.
That's right. This was from the tap, so I already finished it. Cheers, Biofriendly Podcast listeners. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
I love that we Sesame Street our way out. We're like,
It's the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.